positions of authority in our country where you feel like, hey, if I was just there, I would make a difference. Folks, here's the reality. There is millions of young boys and young girls, but let's just talk about young boys because that's where this study came from. There's millions of young boys in this country that need a dad. And millions of them, for whatever reason, don't have a father figure. Many of them don't even have their father in their life. The divorce rate is over 50%. Even amongst the church is about 50% amongst people who profess Christianity. Tragic. But I've said this before, you've heard this before. The root cause of America's societal ills, obviously, is the root is spiritual. We live in a fallen world, and where light doesn't exist, darkness takes over. That's how it works. And in the context of the family, which is one of the three institutions that God himself established, America has a family problem. We have a missing dad problem. We have a missing mom problem. And when our young people grow up without the mother and the father figure that they need in their life for a litany of reasons, there's a void there. There's a void there. And we wonder why that young people are on record levels of ADHD medicine, anxiety medicine, and you know, seeing therapists, and record levels of depression, etc. It's because the family that God created has been broken in our country. And not just broken, but de-emphasized. Where single parenting has become the norm, divorce has become mainstream, fatherless young boys is rampant everywhere you turn. And so back to what you can do, everybody can do something. So let's just speak to the men out there. Number one, if you're a father, you need to be a godly husband to the mother of your children, and you need to be a godly father to your children and teach them the things of God and build a relationship with them to fend off these dark traps of the evil one that we're talking about here. And we truly have to become countercultural. Like, we have to see what is the world doing wrong, and as Christians we need to do the opposite. And what is the opposite? The opposite is godliness. But this is the prescription that everybody has access to in this country. You don't have to be a congressman, you don't have to be a senator, you don't have to be a governor, you don't have to run for city council to ensure that the young men in your life know what biblical masculinity is like, know what it means to have a father or a father-like figure in their life. You guys listening can do that. You can be that. And if we'll begin to rebuild God's design for marriage and family in this country, it will have massive downstream implications on our civics, on our entertainment, on our economy, and on the overall culture of the American landscape. We'll be back in a few.
takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildman and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney Empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
If you are 65 or older, you know this, inflation is hitting everyone hard right now, especially when it comes to healthcare. Over the last 10 years, healthcare costs have skyrocketed by, get this, 230%. If you have Medicare Parts A and B, you know there are still out-of-pocket expenses like deductibles and co-payments, and they really add up. But here's some good news. MediShare 65 Plus is designed to fill in those gaps and help protect you from rising healthcare costs. At only $99 per month up to age 75, you get peace of mind at a price you can afford. And MediShare is trusted too. It's been around 30 years. It's not some big impersonal thing. It's a community of people helping each other. Business owners, pastors, retirees. People love it. MediShare 65 Plus just makes sense. To learn more, give them a call. They're great to talk to. They'll offer to pray with you each time you call too. Call now, 833-45-BIBLE. That's 833-45-BIBLE. 833-45-BIBLE.
Hey friends, it's Jessica Peck, Dr. Nurse Mama, as your 1-minute parenting coach. Do you have spaces in your home where you can be truly present with your family, free from the distractions of technology? Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." In a world full of constant notifications and rolling screen time, it's easy to lose the ability to simply be still and connect with each other. This week, ask yourself, are we carving out moments and spaces in our home where we can pause, listen, and truly be with each other without the pull of technology? Creating tech-free zones is a powerful way to nurture relationships, deepen conversations, and grow in faith. What if you set aside certain areas in your home, like the dinner table, bedrooms, or a family room, to be places of rest and reconnection? This could be the space where your family can truly be still and enjoy God's presence together. Try it out, and I'll see you on the Dr. Nurse Mama Show here on American Family Radio.
At the Core podcasts are available at afr.net. Now, back to At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome back to the Core here on American Family Radio. Walker Wildman here with you. Chris Woodward's in studio with us as he is each Friday. Hey, Chris, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Chris, let's talk a little bit of economy. We could probably do this in our sleep because we do most weeks. And one of your topics or areas of coverage for American Family News is the economy. The market took a few bumps in recent weeks, but seems to be recovering. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's some of the days that it's been down. Stated reasons for losses would include things like the lack of a trade deal between China and the U.S., although there have been days where things were doing very well based on the optimism or likelihood that we could be getting a trade deal with China. Keep in mind that President Trump has already said several times he is going to meet with China's leader to talk about trade. They're going to get together in the near future, South Korea, I think it is, to try to hash something out. That should be a very positive day for everybody in their 401k.
Yeah, absolutely. And that needs to be done. I mean, we can't go past year one of President Trump with no trade deal with China or South Korea. China and the U.S., we're kind of, this is a big deal. This has broad economic implications. I'm talking about getting a trade deal or not.
Yes.
Because right now we're kind of doing the whole ebb and flow of tariffs and no tariffs and tariffs and no tariffs with President Trump as they try to work out a deal. But last I checked, the China is freezing rare earth mineral exports, including to the U.S. And other nations. I think they're trying to use this as leverage.
Yeah.
China has a problem. We both have problems. China has a population problem because of their terrible, unbiblical one-child policy that they had for decades, that they've since rescinded, and now they're paying people to have babies. America needs China to buy our debt, and others, but we need China to buy our debt, and we don't need China to continue cozying up to the Russias of the world. So there's multiple interests at play here. Ultimately, free and fair trade needs to be restored between the U.S. and China in order for President Trump's economy to really blossom. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah. A lot of people have said, we just need to make more of our own stuff. Forget China. We tried. Let's move on. We can't do that today.
Not fully.
No,
we can try.
Yeah, consumers, whether they realize it or not, need some goods to be made in China and other places that don't require $7.25, $7.50 an hour or more. Part of the reasons why dollar stores are as popular as they are is because they can get stuff in bulk and then sell it to somebody for $1.25 and make a profit on a spatula or whatever it is out there. We need those kinds of products to be made in cheaper places because our wages are too high, plus all the other stuff that businesses are required to pay for, which is why it's expensive to make things here as opposed to, let's say, in 1965 or 1970. So the U.S. economy does need somebody like a China to make things, but also China needs America to feed them. A lot of our soybean products, a lot of our beef and our pork and our chicken products do go to places like China because they've got a they've got a workforce that's being able to afford meat now as opposed to previous generations. They want to eat just like we need to eat. And so they rely on us for things just like we need them to make our cheap products that we can't afford to make anymore and make a business out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to reshore certain manufacturing sectors, especially ones that are critical to national security and to our economy. But yeah, as I've talked on with Jerry Boyer on the program, we don't need to be making everything, right? We don't need to be making, $3 toys that you buy, at Walmart.
But we're going to throw away.
Yeah, we need to be making computers. We need to be making chips. We need to be making pharmaceutical, all of our pharmaceutical products, things like that, different national security related items we need to be making. But yeah, speaking of farmers, Chris, I've spoken to a farmer recently. Agriculture has taken a hit.
Yes.
Farmers are in a bad situation. We're talking about the latest stat I saw was up to 30 to 40% of farms could shut down this year if the government doesn't intervene.
Yeah, and that's the last thing you want in a large chunk of the country that supports Trump, that voted for Trump, and by the way, is going into a midterm election year.
Yeah.
Where a lot of those people are going to be told, hey, you were told this guy was going to make it better. You're obviously hurting. Side with us now, and the Democratic government of the future will make sure that farmers are taken care of, just like we did back during the 40s and the 50s with farm bills and things of that nature.
Yeah.
They really are hurting. And to be honest with you, I mean, we're talking about people losing their, more than just the farms, but also their homes, their livelihoods.
Yeah, everything.
Where are they going to go? These are people that, have been raised farmers. They're not going to go learn to code or whatever Biden wanted people to do.
I know.
Back in the economic hard times.
I remember he said that. Chris, one of the leading causes of the hardship amongst farmers is the rising input cost in order to produce the agricultural products, the end product that you end up selling. A lot of those input costs, virtually all of them, they spiked after COVID.
Yes.
During and after COVID. I mean, they were just skyrocketing. I mean, doubling in some instances, the input cost. And the output cost, or the profits, if you will, from the output, in some years they were decent, right, in order to kind of keep up with those input costs. But I'm looking now at commodity prices, and I know you've got some of that. Commodity prices have bottomed. I mean, they have tanked. We're talking about numbers going back to the 70s.
Yeah.
The last time some of these commodity prices were this low. But the input costs that these farmers are having to foot the bill for to plant the crops and to harvest, those haven't dropped, at least not in the same regard.
Yeah. And, you look at like diesel fuel, the national average for diesel this week was $3.62, which was more than it was at this time last year. We have to figure out a way to bring down bring
That's
down the
interesting.
price of diesel.
So diesel's higher right now than it was this time last year?
And supposedly
Wow.
it's because of demand and things like that. We've got to figure out a way, and I don't know how to do it because I have a BA in communication, but we have to figure out a way to get diesel to $3 or less.
I agree.
Because that would help so many people, not just farmers, but even consumers who drive EVs.
Yeah.
Because diesel is how the product you're buying in a store got to that store.
Correct.
And we have to find a way to bring down diesel. It
And
would mean so much.
Gasoline has to be to $2 or less.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that maybe
In Mississippi, we're 40 cents from there.
Yes.
We're 240 right now.
we pay below average prices, praise God. But I mean,
Right.
you know, like hardworking Americans, God-fearing people in states like California, and yes, they do exist.
Yeah.
You know, they're paying like $4 or $5 a gallon
That's
depending on
right.
where they're living. You can't live like that.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. The diesel cost, that's very interesting. You know, why it's not being relieved more, even with Trump's policies. I think it'll take time. Chris, another factor here, and this is why when President Trump was sworn in, I told the audience, look, this isn't going to be we blink and then everything's hunky dory.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
yes.
this has got a lot of mess to clean up.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about just energy. You know, every day I'm reading headlines about skyrocketing energy costs because we're putting these AI mega data centers online every month, and we're not upping our utility production.
Right.
So electricity costs are continually rising and have been since COVID, with no end in sight, with the exception there's some nuclear facilities that they're working on. But Chris, that's 12, 24 months down the road.
Yeah, and that's on top of, you know, electric bill is on top of everybody else's, all the other expenses that you have to pay. Things
Yeah.
like your mortgage, things like maybe your health insurance bills, credit card bills. People are still swiping plastic when they're buying things. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But many people, because of a situation that's far too time intensive to try to explain, are still swiping a credit card to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And so there are all kinds of bills, and it's still a conversation amongst some Americans on we can have this or we can do this month.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
unfortunate situation. I still hold out to our prediction that probably things will really start to move in a very positive direction by spring of next year,
Yeah.
which would again, as we've talked about on the show, be a positive for Republicans. In that, look, we said we would fix it. It took us some time, like
Yeah.
we said it would.
Yeah.
But vote us back in, and we'll continue to make it better.
Yeah, the only area that they're going to really have to get on fast to see relief is the power, the power production, which is energy, but not just energy like gas and diesel, but homes. How do we fuel homes, which gets into coal, natural gas, wind, solar, nuclear. They're going to have to, and President Trump has already declared a national emergency on this, like day one of his administration. So they're probably using all the deregulatory authorities that they have, but we got to get these nuclear facilities online.
Yeah.
These modular nuclear reactors, we got to get them online and get them online fast. And Chris, this proves a point that we're going to have consecutive terms of like-minded presidential leadership.
Yeah.
Obviously, President Trump's on his last term, but whether it's J.D. Vance or otherwise, this country cannot, in, I guess it would be 2029, January of 2029, we cannot resort to a Gavin Newsom presidency of strangling the American economy. That's just not going to work.
Yeah. A number of people have jokingly said things like Newsom will do to America what he's done to California if he's elected and put into the White House. But you're right. You can't have in every 4 years, this is the way we're going to do it. It
Right.
messes with the stock market. It messes with consumers. It impacts everything.
Companies, yeah.
And you cannot have, a lot of people don't realize this, but really a business model needs to be 10 years or more
Yeah.
for things to really be working. And it
Yes.
takes a while to get stuff going. For an administration to come in and go, we're not doing fossil fuels anymore, it's going to be at least 18 months before they can really get policies in place to even go after that.
Right.
And then, because it's going to be a midterm election season by that point, they have to be careful what they do because you don't want to cost
It's
seats in the House and
whiplash.
Senate.
Yeah.
And then it takes another year to really get that going. And by that point, somebody in the debate stage goes, this guy made your life terrible. Vote us in. And then we're back to the same situation.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we're, Chris, we were on the precipice of some pretty. I mean, we went through a pretty hard time with Biden. I don't want to underestimate or state that, but we were spared. I mean, the Biden and the inflation getting out of control, that had some serious opportunity to go more south than it already did.
Yeah.
Because with this modern monetary theory, it's not built for inflation. It's not built for high levels of inflation. It's built for 2 to 3%. But when you get hyperinflation, which we didn't get there, but we could have, if you were to go into the hyperinflation realm and this debt snowball, this deficit snowball that gets out of control, you're talking about something that leads to mass economic collapse, which thankfully we've since avoided. But I guess my point is you keep teetering with this socialism and communism every 4 years with a different president,